Hello, folks. Yes, Shock, and welcome to episode 15 of the Short Grass, the Kildare Nationalist Sports Podcast. Your weekly look at all things sport in Kildare, with the particular emphasis on the GAA matters. With me this evening are Ger McNally and Richard Commons. Unofficial Tommy is Oslaher, and Seamus has a family matter to deal with, and we wish Seamus and his wife Sandra much strength around this difficult time. Lads, it was Leinster action in football all last weekend. Three Kildare teams in action and three Kildare victories. I suppose controlled aggression is the name of, or the words that were extensively used after a tie versus Summerhill on Saturday night, Richard.
Yeah, they really came strong after about 15 minutes. Well, maybe 20, 25 minutes, didn't they?
Yeah.
Summerhill, got on top, were scoring from kind of good range. But you always felt a tie weren't really up at their level for that first 20 or 25 minutes. And once they did, you really expected they could push on. And they did that. I was a bit frustrated early in the second half. I really thought they missed an awful lot of chances around that period. But I think it was once Niall Kelly, got a 2-pointer.
That's right.
They kind of pushed on from there, and it was really Summerhill were just, weren't in the game from that point onwards.
Yeah, they were blowing out of it, really. Starting off, Liam Shaw, the corner forward, he had 3 points almost in a row for Summerhill, and they got a good point as well from Barry Dardis, who started instead of Owen Frayne, which I presume you would say Owen Frayne was a big loss to Summerhill, Richard.
Yeah, he was, and I think he's a brilliant free taker, obviously, but he's the focal point of their attack as well, clearly. Yeah. And no team is gonna just brush that one aside. But I think even with him there, I don't think he was necessarily, his absence was necessarily the difference. I thought they were so on top ultimately, and they were very sluggish in the first half. They didn't really hit the ground running, and it was really only Brian Maher's goal, I think, that woke them up a little bit. And then, of course, they ended up a point ahead at half time without really playing to their full strengths.
And Ger, just like the county final when they got a crucial goal, at that occasion it was Barry Kelly, but on the Saturday evening it was Colin Moran who ran at the defence, really mesmerised the Summerhill defence and passed to Brian Maher, and an unstoppable shot into the top left-hand corner of the goals. No chance of any goalkeeper stopping that one. That was the turning point of the game, you'd have to say.
Yeah, there's definitely similarities there to the county final, as Richard was saying, because even without Owen Frayne, Summerhill, they didn't appear to be missing him, certainly in the first half, because they attacked really well. They kicked some fantastic scores, and there was some real beauties that they kicked in the first half. But it took that moment of magic from Mar and a little help from Colin Moore in the build-up. But what an unbelievable finish it was, right into the top corner of the net. And we've seen some good goals through the year in Cedar St. Conleth's Park, but I'm not too sure we've seen too many better than that, because that was, as you say, Pat, almost unstoppable, and really timely as well, because they gave a tie a great boost, and to go in ahead at half time, probably slightly undeserved maybe on the total run of the opening 30 minutes. I would have to say I think Summerhill were slightly edging it, and were getting their scores a little bit easier, albeit some of them were spectacular ones. But yeah, that Mar goal really did give a tie a foothold, and getting that advantage of going in at the halftime break, and it was a very different game then in the second half.
Yeah, because even after Mara's goal, Richard, Summerhill came back, and Dermot McCabe got a 2-pointer to level the game, and then Liam Shaw got his 4th point. So it's 8-7 coming into the last minute or so of the game. But I suppose two experienced men stood up. Kevin Feely with a point on the 29th minute, and then a minute into injury time, David Hyland with a point, 1-6 to 8 at halftime. And they were crucial scores, really.
Yeah, they were. It really, gave a tie a boost coming into the second half. And Feely, I thought Feely was almost man of the match. I know Sean Moore obviously had a fantastic game. Colin Moore, and you mentioned as well, he really stood up as such a young lad. But I thought Feely throughout the whole game, like he was so in control of possession around the midfield and prompting them. And that point he took when, someone much more inexperienced would have probably gone for goal. they needed a point at that stage. I thought Feely was just everywhere. Highland's just playing the football of his life at the moment, isn't he, really?
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, he had a busy day on Saturday. He was best man to Paul Cribben and Ellen Dowling, and we wish Paul and Ellen all the best on their match. Indeed, and as I said, it was a busy afternoon or evening or night for Kevin Feely. But the second half belonged to some of the younger players, I suppose. Colin Moore got a couple of points, and then Sean Moore, just as he did in the county final, he came forward. He said he's got license to attack, but he was really playing a halfback on Saturday evening, and he got some lovely scores, really, that I suppose told the difference between the sides.
Yeah, and I mean, this game just hasn't come out of the blue for Sean Moore, because he has steadily improved with pretty much every passing game of the championship so far. Barry Kelly and Colin McCarran got a lot of the headlines in the county final, but I thought he was right up there with his performance that day. He was superb in Baltinglass and was better again here against Summerhill. And he's playing so well. He's bound to have caught the eye of Brian Flanagan, I'm sure, as well, as I'm sure some of the other Athy players have, as you would expect from county champions. And I saw it going well in Leinster, and he's definitely an intriguing prospect in terms of a possible addition to the Kildare setup next year, because he's just so clever with his movement and he finds space really well. And for someone who's such a good defender, he's equally adept at taking a score as well, as he's shown over the last few games as well. And he's just been outstanding. But Colin Moore, you mentioned as well, and again, it's hard to kind of get your head around himself and Ronan Kelly being so young, because they've just taken on the mantle of the Athy attack. And although Niall Kelly is in there as well and is a hugely experienced helping hand in that full forward line, Moore and Kelly, for their age, they've just been absolutely outstanding. And again, you can only see huge things in their future. Thinking back to the Athy side, who reached the Leinster semi-final in 2011, there was some really talented young players on that team, and no more so than David Hyland and Kevin Feely. And if the likes of Ronan Kelly and Colin Moore can go on to have the kind of careers that David Hyland and Kevin Feely have had, they'll be doing extremely well. But they certainly have the potential to do so, because they are seriously talented young players, and they've got a lot on their plate in the very short term, and hopefully have their season is going to continue well into the latter part of this season. But yeah, they're really, really exciting players. And Ronan Kelly, obviously, we're going to speak about schools football later on. He has some big games coming up in the very near future for the Athy school as well. But Colin Moore just out of the art school in the Trinota set up there as well. But yeah, what players they are. Like Moore, he showed real leadership as well in a tough battle, although kind of by the end the Athy had worn Summerhill down and won pretty comfortably. Like, it was a battle to get on top, and Moran was a big part of that. And he showed a bit of an edge to his game as well that is really admirable for a young man too. And he's got talent, but he's got grit as well.
And Richard, it's very hard to pick out a man of the match with this Athy team. We'd heard about 15-man rugby, but this is 15-man football, and the 1 to 15 who start do their business, and then you have the likes of Mark Hyland, Ben Purcell, Conor Kelly, Kieran Farrell, and Cian Keaveney coming on, and the ante is upped again.
It is, and I think just back to Sean Moore, he kind of epitomises it as well. He's like, it's very hard to pin down where he's actually playing. He wears 2, and maybe that's a bit deceptive. He kind of plays kind of wing back or wing forward. But he's so hard to pin down if you're the opposite team trying to figure out where the hell this lad's playing and where he's going to be coming from. Yeah, I mean, across that team and subs bench, they're just in such a run of form and momentum at the moment, and that mix is just fantastic. Like Colin McCarran again, I thought was excellent at the weekend. I mean, we kind of saw him probably coming into the championship. This solid fella's going to sit at centre back, and I think we even alluded to the fact he might be a little bit slow at this stage, and might even be a weakness for Athy. But like, the games he's had from the county final onwards have been phenomenal, and he's obviously enjoying himself.
Absolutely, and at this stage, we humbly apologise to Colin McCarran for maybe saying that he's slow, because he was one of the fittest lads on the pitch, and his dummies of late, particularly in the county final, and again in the match against Baltinglass and on Saturday evening. This dummy, as he's going to kick the ball, and then he shimmies and doesn't actually kick it, but moves forward. He probably learned that in Athy. I don't know if he learned it in Tyrone.
No, he'd have been kicked out of Tyrone for that, I'd say.
Yeah, indeed. Things are looking good for Athy, and we wish them the best of luck in the next round. That will be in on Saturday week. We'll be talking about that in the podcast next week. But it was also a good day, Richard, as well for Salons. They really outshone Kilbride in the intermediate championship in the soon-to-be developed Park Talton. We used to hear that about St. Conleth's, but now that's developed into a fine ground, as we know, Cedral St. Conleth's Park. But probably one of the last games in Park Talton, and
Yeah,
it was
one
a
of. I
big
think
defeat.
they're still running their regional competition.
Okay.
I think the semi-finals of that were going to be on the day after this one, so it wasn't quite the last game there, but it was good to see. Similar to St. Conleth's Park, I think Kildare beat Meath, didn't they?
That's right.
In the final game before it closed down, unless my memory's fading me.
That's right. 30th of April, or 29th of April, was it?
Kildare certainly beat me in this one. I mean, the locals were a little bit taken aback, I think, with Salons, because they felt Kilbride came into this with a fighting chance, and Salons are just a machine at this stage. I mean, from the word go, like there were 2 points up, 2 Colin Moran points in the first, Dalton points within the first couple of minutes, and they just never let go after that. I mean, they're just a phenomenal team at this stage for intermediate. Scores coming from all over, attacks coming from all over. It could be Luke Kelly popping up for a goal as he did in the second half. Keane Grimes probably wasn't man of the match and ended up with 1-4, I think it was. Dalton is just in fantastic form. So, they just bludgeoned Kilbride. They won so easily in the end. It was like a senior team playing a junior team, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all very positive. I suppose the only 2 things I'd say would be a bit of a worry for Jonathan Daniels, and he admitted as much afterwards. I asked him, is it a concern that they've won all 9 games in Kildare and Leinster by 10 points or more? And, is there a concern that once it gets tight coming down the home stretch, they might get caught or not be able to deal with it? And he said, quite honestly, yes, it is a concern, but they're working on those sort of scenarios in training. What happens if a team scores a couple of goals against us? What happens if, we're 2 points behind coming down the home straight? So, they're aware of it, but I think it remains a little bit of a concern is when the going does get tough, as it inevitably will, either in Leinster or hopefully even in the All-Ireland series, then, they will have to cope with that, and it'll be something a little bit new, certainly over the last couple of months. The other concern is, to a degree, is Darragh Mangan and Colm Dalton are both carrying slight niggles. Like Darragh Mangan has a bit of a hamstring strain. Colm Dalton's picked up a bit of an ankle injury, so he was taken off before the end. So both of those are going to have to be monitored. But I'd say if they're anywhere near fit, they're going to line out in the semi-final.
Absolutely, and Ger, it's the performance of Salons this year. Is it, I suppose, a reflection on the experience over the last number of years, and maybe even the hurt of over the last number of years, where the expectation was huge, but they didn't deliver. So they're penalising everybody for that this year.
Absolutely, and just hearing Richard speak there about Jonathan Daniels, I mean, that's a real kind of first world problem to be worried about. You have been put under pressure, winning every game by 10 points, and it seems to be a very simple solution to that, by just keeping games by 10 plus points, as Salons keep to be doing, because we would have said that maybe around the end of the group stages in the intermediate championship, that we thought they would face some really stiff challenges, and certainly into the early stages of Leinster, and they're just taking everything in their stride and absolutely blitzing their way through anything that's in front of them at the moment. And yeah, there was a lot of commentators and journalists from Meath, almost surprised at Salons at how good they were. I saw some of them mentioning that they would probably possibly be favourites or certainly contenders in the Meath Senior Football Championship, such was their quality. And there were some people kind of saying, where's this team come from at intermediate level? How have they just come out of seemingly nowhere if you're outside of Kildare and to be so good? But I mean, for us in Kildare and certainly within the Salons club, I'm sure it's been a long journey to get to this stage where they've been, when they're so good and winning so emphatically, that they certainly have had their really tough times. And as you say, Pat, that's brought them together as a team. Richard, I saw you commenting on social media saying that I suppose the explosion of Colm Dalton into really a top tier footballer as well has been a huge help. He's obviously been there for the last couple of years, but I think he has improved immensely with the benefit of a year's intercounty football with Kildare. It's brought him on an absolute ton in a Sans jersey as well. Darragh Mangan has come on leaps and bounds as well in the last 12 months. So it's certainly, it's not, if you're within the Sans Club, it hasn't just happened out of nowhere. This has been a long journey. Jonathan Daniels is in there now for a couple of years, the second year. So, he's led from the front there as well over the last couple of years and tried to mold this team. And, what he's turned them into is something really special. And we just hope that they can continue on this sort of path, because they're a side who have done fantastically well so far this year. And if they can finish off this year by clinching a Leinster title to go what they've already won, and, there is real possibilities of them maybe even achieving things beyond Leinster and outside of the province as well. So they won't get too carried away. And Jonathan Daniels, he's kind of emphasised that all the way through, just to focus on every single game and take things one game at a time. And as Richard kind of said there as well, if they are starting to pick up niggles and knocks, as you would expect, I suppose, after a long season, but particularly when it's two of the absolute key players, they're a very, very strong team, but even the very best teams has their key men, and Darragh Mangan and Colin Dalton would absolutely be that for Salons, and if they were to miss any sort of game time, would be a huge blow. But yeah, look, they're absolutely rampant at the moment, and it's going to take a hugely, hugely good side on a very, very good day to beat them at the moment.
Yeah, and Richard, finally on this one, unlike maybe other Kildare teams in the past, whether it be club level or county level, the favourites tag is sitting lightly on Salons at the moment anyway.
Yeah, they just seem to be enjoying themselves. They've got a way of playing. I'd hate to maybe invoke the Dublin phrase about going through their processes and what have you, but they're very consistent in what they do and their style of play. But I think, just to touch on one thing, and again, Jonathan Daniels alluded to it afterwards, but the difference for me, yes, you've got Mangan and Dalton have come on a ton, as have some of the other younger, like the Kellys, and some of these lads are just playing phenomenal football at the moment. Keane Grimes as well, great form. But the work rate of them, like, they were ravenous from the first minute in terms of winning possession, and Kilbride just couldn't handle it. But a great example of it is, if you think of James Dalton, and you might look at the reports on matches and the scoring, and his scoring, I think he topped the chart in the intermediate at the end of the day. Tommy, correct me if he was on, but his scoring has kind of leveled off a little bit of late. He didn't score that much between the I think the county final and then in Leinster so far. But I just watched him there on Saturday, and his work rate out the field, he's feeding other players now, and he's really getting on a lot of ball and making things tick around the centre forward, half forward position. But the work rate to align with that skill that they have has been exceptional. So I hope I'm not talking them up too much now. They've got I would imagine a more difficult task against Clara now the next day out. That might tell us a little bit more, but we've been saying that for 9 games at this stage.
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a lot more detail next week. That match will be on Sunday, the 30th of November. That's Salons versus Clara in Cedars in Convas Park at 2:00. And as I said, we will be previewing that on the episode 16 of the Shortgrass. The third team came through, and that was the junior champions, Grange-Dolvan. They played Clobon of Wexford. A little bit of a struggle for a while, but they were comfortable winners in the end, even though I suppose, Richard, you got to look at it on Clubber. I was commentating on Clubber. But the goal from the penalty spot right at the end, I suppose, put a bit of a gloss on it. And in fairness, I thought that Grange-Dolvan should have had a penalty in the second half as well. But they did quite well. They were 1-9-5 up at halftime. That goal just before halftime from Bergen was absolutely crucial. From Fionn Bergen was absolutely crucial to the overall game.
Yeah, I didn't actually see it, Pat. Sorry, didn't see that one. Just saw some. Of
course, you had to cover another game, didn't you?
I was busy elsewhere.
It couldn't be by local or bifocal. Yeah, well, it was a good all-round performance by David Conway's team. Early stages, it was quite close, 2 points all, but then we had 6 points in a row from Grange-Dolvan. That really showed their strength and their style. So they were coming up to the 23rd minute or so. They were 8-2 in front. Then we had a couple of points in a row from the captain, or the centre half forward, Ben Whitty, on the Clobon team. Brought it back to, 8 points to 4. But just before halftime, it was a great move up the centre of the field, and if the left-footed kick in. I'm not sure whether it was Conal Bergen or the brother Killian who put it in, but it came off the post, and of course quickest to react was Fionn, and he crashed the ball to the back of the net. 1-9-5 at that stage, and really no matter what Clobon threw at them in the second half, and they did throw quite plenty at them, but Conor McMahon made some great saves. They should have had a penalty halfway through the second half, wasn't awarded, and they had to concede a penalty themselves. I think it was about 5 minutes or 8 minutes actually into injury time in the game. But a good all-round performance from the Grange-Nolva, the champions of Kildare. And as you're quoting in this week's Kildare Nationalist here, the manager David Conway, he's continuing to looking for improvements. At least he told Seamus Dillon in that in the after match discussion.
Yeah, and like, I suppose certainly in contrary to Salins, the Grange-Nolva haven't had it all their own way so far in the Leinster campaign, but in some ways that makes it equally as impressive, because they've had to dig deep and they've had to come up with different responses and find the answers to different questions, and so far they've done that. We expect, I suppose, a step up in level. It's going to be a little bit of a step into the unknown, really, I suppose, in the next game when it's Barcelona who they take on, even if they will have a couple of familiar faces in that Barcelona side with Josh O'Donoghue and Cameron Nairn of Kilcock and Josh of Johnstone Bridge performing very well in that victory over Ballinagar of Westmeath. So yeah, but Grange-Nolva, they're a very, very solid outfit. We've spoken about them all year. They have they tick a lot of boxes in what you'd want to see from a team. They have some really good forwards. They're strong defensively. They have good pace. They can counter-attack. They're big men. They can launch balls in on the edge of the square. So they have a lot in their arsenal, and they defend very well too. Good goalkeeper as well. So yeah, look, they've done really well so far. And I suppose that they will go into that game against Barcelona. I suppose as outsiders looking in, you'd have to say will be favourites for that game. But that Barcelona side don't appear to be pushovers by any means. So it was a really impressive win for them in their quarter-final. As I said, we know all about Josh O'Donoghue, who was superb for Johnstone Bridge this year, and indeed Broadford Hurling as well. Cameron Nairn as well of Kilcock. So it'll be a really interesting semi-final for Grange-Nolva, but they're moving really well at the moment too.
Interesting indeed, as you say, Ger. But Richard, it'll probably be a difficult one for them because apart from watching them on Clubber, there's no other way of knowing what the Barcelona team will offer.
I think they've only played one game, haven't they, in Leinster so far versus two for Grange. So they'll be well clued up on Grange.
They beat Amsterdam, who probably would have been regular as in Leinster over the last number of years. So they can't be too poor.
Yeah. Isn't it great, though? it's so typical GAA to see a place like Grange-Nolva playing Barcelona on a level playing field. There won't be too much tiki-taka football, I'm sure, from Barcelona. But
it'd be interesting.
I can't say I know a lot about them myself. But,
nobody knows.
I think Granger have got good momentum as well. You never really know how teams are going to approach a provincial campaign, particularly if they've got a win in their county for the first time in a long time, as Grange have. So I think fair play to them. They really attacked this. They got off to a sluggish enough start against St. Bridget's, but they came good in that, and they looked good from what you guys are saying in terms of this match. So I'd see them as slight favourites, and I think if they can keep playing as they have been, then they should be okay.
Absolutely, if they keep playing as a team. And Conway is still looking for improvements, which means that he will push them very much to the limit over the next 10 days or so. That match will be in Cedral, or rather in Mangard Park, on Saturday the 29th of the 11th, that's 29th of November at 2:30 p.m. So your weekend for the following weekend is on Saturday the 29th at 2 o'clock. It's a Thai versus Port Arlington in the Leinster AIB Leinster Senior Football Championship in Cedral St. Conleth's Park on the Saturday. Also on the Saturday, it's the Junior Championship, AIB Leinster Junior Championship, Grange-Nolva versus Barcelona Gales. That's at 2:30 in Mangard Park. And then on Sunday, the 30th of November, in the AIB Intermediate Football Championship, it's Salins versus Clara at 2 o'clock in Cedral St. Conleth's Park. Hi, that's football, lads, for the moment. Hurling this weekend, two good wins for the hurling representatives a couple of weeks ago. So now Naas and Clane are in semi-final action. Naas versus St. Martin's. Richard, I see you're previewing it in the Kildare Nationalist this week. You were at the game last year, I think. St. Martin's looked pretty strong last year, and obviously they've knocked out the Nafina, who were the All-Ireland champions.
Yeah, they've got good momentum as well. They've won 2 county titles in a row now after a few years without one. So, they're growing all the time as well. And I think that result against Nafina certainly shows that they've stepped up another level again. And last year they were just a little bit too maybe mature, too good for Naas. I think they won by about 5 points in the end. They did a good job of bottling up Nace's key men. Like, I seem to remember Jack Sheridan was well marked in that one, well marshalled. So I think Naas, it's difficult for Naas. Like, they let's be honest, they have to they trundle along a little bit in Kildare, and they got a decent challenge from Maynooth in the final, but still won by 10 points or so. So it is difficult, but they did step up against Mount Leinster. I think this will be another step up again. But they're in reasonable form if they can get ball into Jack. If Charlie Sheridan gets another goal or two, but they're really going to have to step up across the whole pitch, I think, in this one. Tough one, very tough one.
Yeah, and Ger, obviously, some of the Naas players coming back into form and coming back from injury as well. Simon Lacey had a great game the last day. Cian Bourne wasn't started but came on and showed that he can still deliver as well. So, players are coming into form for Tom O'Lally's team.
Yeah, and I think that game against Mount Leinster Rangers will be huge for Naas to bring them on and kind of prepare them for what's going to be needed here on Sunday. It was 4 or 5 weeks we've said since the county final against the Mount Leinster Rangers side, who'd gone kind of 3 months without a game, but all the same, Naas had to sharpen their pencils as well to get ready for championship battle. To start without Cian Bourne would have been a real blow before the game, I would have thought. So his return certainly is a big boost, and Cathal Dowling appearing to be over his little niggles as well, or whatever problems he's had throughout the season on the injury front. Harry Carroll is another one who's had a couple of injuries through the year as well, but they got through the full game. So yeah, certainly Tom O'Lally's hand looks to be strengthened in terms of those options, and they're a strong squad. But yeah, look, this is a huge test, probably as big a test as they've had. If it was Nafina that Naas were going to play at the weekend, you'd say it's a monumental test. So they're going to face a side who have beaten Nafina, so you'd have to say it's equally as big a test. And the fact that St. Martin's had that win over Naas last year as well puts them in a very strong position. But Naas at their best can be a match for anybody, and if they can get up there at the top of their game, they have a real chance here. But it's going to need probably the biggest performance that we've seen from Naas under Tom O'Lally and through this golden spell of Kildare championships. They've had some big performances. They're very close to beating the Fina, and they were excellent against Ballyhale for probably 40 minutes a couple of years ago as well. But they're going to need
all that as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a wonderful. That was probably their first win in the Leinster Senior, wasn't it, against Shinrone? So, they're going to need all that and more again now on Sunday.
Yeah, and it's away as well, which is another one. Like last year they were in Newbridge, weren't they, against St. Martin's? So, that's
absolutely. And
the Wexford Park is worth a couple of points probably to St. Martin's as well, no doubt.
Yeah, but Richard, as well as the performance, Naas will have to take every chance. They can't afford to not take their chances. I mean, against Ballyhale, there were 4 goal opportunities. Okay, the keeper had made some outstanding saves, but on another day they need to score them. Same with the last day against Mount Leinster Rangers. They need to take their chances, and whatever chance comes available on Sunday, then they'll have to take them against Martins as well. Otherwise, they could be in trouble.
Well, this is it, and that's the level you're at when you get to a semi-final in Leinster. It really is, a cut above anything they'll have played up to now. But they have the players to do it. I think they have players, who can take a chance. We've seen it many times before. Jack and Brian Byrne as well is another great goal scorer, and they probably will need a few goals. So they have the players, I think.
Yeah, and we know they have dug deep in that. Remember that All-Ireland intermediate final. They had to really dig deep that day to beat the Kerry champions. So we know they can dig deep, and they showed they can perform at the highest possibility as well when they played against Ballyhale Shamrock. So it's a matter of getting it right on the day, and no better man, I suppose, Ger, than Tom O'Lally has stepped down as Carlow manager. Was that a big shock in Carlow?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think our reporter down in Carlow was speaking to him after the Mount Leinster Rangers games and was kind of more or less setting up an interview within the next couple of weeks ahead of the start of a new Carlow season. So yeah, it has come as a bit of a shock down there. I suppose he's given 5 years stint in service. Obviously the highlight was that 2023 McDonagh Cup victory over Offaly, but he's had them in Division 1 of the National League as well. Got a really unforgettable draw against Kilkenny in the Leinster Championship. They've also drawn against Galway, I think, in the league as well, and pushed them well in the Championship as well. So he's done an outstanding job with Carlow. He will be very, very fondly remembered for all that he did down there, I'm sure. And he'll always be welcome in Carlow, and the great work against Christy Keeley. What it means for Naas, I don't think it really means a huge amount, certainly not in the short term in the build-up to this game. He is obviously an outstanding manager, and he's a cute manager as well. He might have a trick or two up his sleeve that we haven't even thought of that he could produce maybe on Sunday that potentially will catch St. Martin's out, because he definitely he knows his onions. There's no doubt about that, and he's a cute man, as I say.
Yeah, and Richard, he hasn't lost his appetite for club hurling either.
No, hopefully he's got himself a nice spot on the terrace sorted out for Wexford Park. It's a curiosity. I love the way he kind of stands at the back of the stand in Newbridge, and used to stand under the scoreboard in Hawkfield when they were playing there as well. So hopefully he's found himself a spot down in Wexford Park.
It's surprising more managers don't do that. He had a much better vantage point with that kind of.
And I think it says a lot in terms of his faith in those that are standing on the sideline. They're obviously working. Obviously, he's mic'd up or what have you, but he obviously trusts them implicitly to impart instructions onto the field.
Is he the Damien Duff of Leinster hurling or hurling in Kildare? Standing on the terrace? Yeah. Next thing he'll be standing beside Tommy O'Connell. You'll find that they'll have a good chat here. All joking aside, do we give a big chance to Naas, Ger?
Oh God, a big chance. Yeah, I don't know. If it's 50-50, I think that'd be probably good for Naas. Obviously, St. Martin's, they more or less gave up their football side of things there last week, because of course they're dual champions in Wexford, and put out a skeleton side in the football side of things last week, and shipped the hammering there. So they are obviously absolutely fully focused on this, and why wouldn't they be after knocking out the All-Ireland champions? The very least, it's on their radar as an Leinster title, so they will be absolutely gung-ho for this. But look, as I said, Naas at their best are a match for the majority of the teams in Leinster. They will have to be at their best. Like Jack Sheridan will have to be at the very, very top of his game. But if he is, then absolutely they have a right chance. So there's definitely, as I said, a win here will probably be top anything that Naas has done before. It will be a monumental achievement, so it is going to need a monumental performance, but one they're capable of producing.
And your thoughts as well, Richard? Do you think Naas have a chance as well?
Yeah, a bit like that. I mean, they go in as underdogs, but if you think back to Kildare and the McDonagh Cup, we went into a lot of those games as underdogs beforehand as well. And a lot of these players have been part of that setup as well. So, they know there's a chance. They know if they play to their best, there's an opportunity here for them. And what better opportunity than to get into a Leinster final in Croke Park. This is what you play hurling for, I presume, at that level. So I think they'll be well up for it, and I think they have a chance. I don't think they're favourites by any means. I think on the law of averages, you'd expect St. Martin's to win it, but it'll be very competitive, I think.
Yeah, well, we'll be rooting for them, and the very best of luck to Naas as they face St. Martin's in Chadwick's Wexford Park on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. And that's live on TG Car, I think it is. Yes, live on TG Car. On the Saturday then, Richard, Clane versus Clonard. That's in Mangard Park as well. That's at 1:30. That will be live on Clubber. Do you give Clane a good chance of this one too?
Well, I think so. I think Clane are quite an experienced team for that level. when you look at the intercounty experience that they have, you know, with the likes of obviously Paddy McKenna, Mark Doyle, Sean Christensen, Keane Shanahan, you know, these guys, and then they've, you know, younger lads like Dan Colbert has been fantastic. Cormac Vizard's been quite impressive as well, I think. In another dual player. I didn't see much of the game against Nave Munina, or however it's pronounced.
Correct.
But they seem comfortable enough in that one in fairly heavy conditions. I mean, they're playing a Laois team, so you'd think that's a step up from the last game. You'd imagine it would be quite competitive, but I think Clane with home advantage will go in confident enough in this one.
Yeah, they're probably disappointed there. There were strong feelings, strong hopes that the match would be played in here in Clane, but instead it's going to be played not in Cedar St. Conleth's Park, but it's going to be played in Mangard Park. But I have to say, I was then Mangard on obviously at the weekend on Saturday, and despite all the rain, the pitch was fantastic, and it even looked better in the sunshine on Monday as well, even though it was cold. But Mangard Park is in outstanding condition at the moment.
Probably off the top of my head now, maybe I'm incorrect, but I'd say outside of their own ground in Clane, they've probably played in Mangard more than any other venue. Probably have played more games there than in Cedar St. Conleth's Park. So I don't think that by any means is a knock against them. I think it's a real advantage to know that ground well. As you say, Pat, it's got a bit of a rest, I think, from the end of the club season. So by all accounts, it's in tip-top condition. So there won't be any complaints from either side from that point of view. So yeah, look, it's again, it's hard when you're trying to measure up sides who are going against it, who you don't really know anything about. Clonard beat a Dublin side last time out, have a couple of good players, and talking about know their onions. John Onions was their top scorer there against in their last victory, so he scored 6 points in their win over Kevin's there of Dublin. So yeah, look, Clane, as Richard was saying, when you have those kind of players who have played at that Joe McDonagh Cup level as they have, they should be strong, and it's going to take again a good side to beat them. Paddy McKenna, he's going to double up with his duties with Clane on Saturday. I think he's alongside me down with the commentary box on Sunday in Wexford Park on KFM as well to cover that game against Naas. So he's in for a busy weekend, but you know he's quite the talent as well, because obviously goalkeeper with the county team, but he's an inspirational, talismanic figure out the field for Clane. Had a fantastic season for his club in the Kildare Championship, and was a key man in that win in Dundalk. And yeah, look, he's a big, heavy scorer. Obviously, can puck the ball the length of the field, you know, so he's a threat from frees from pretty much every area of the pitch. So he's a huge player, and as well as that, is a real leader, kind of someone that drives the team on. So yeah, fingers crossed. Without knowing a huge amount about their opposition, you know, you're very hopeful that Clane can be strong in this competition. I suppose you would expect the Senior B in Kildare, like it's Leinster Junior. So yeah, look, it should be the Kildare champions in that competition. Generally, what you'd expect to do pretty well, and Clane, as they showed in that trip to Dundalk, they're approaching this in the right manner. They certainly have their focus right, and they have their eyes on a Leinster title, and hopefully they come Saturday evening they'll be prepared for a final.
And a final word, Richard. Daniel Colbert played for the Clane senior footballers during the championship, then went off and played for the hurlers in an outstanding county final, and he was outstanding the last day as well. And as far as I can see from the team sheet, he was playing for Maynooth Freshers during the week as well. So he's a busy man, but he's a find for the season, and obviously one of the Bryans are going to have a look out for him, whether it be Flano or whether it be Dowling.
Yeah, I'd say I've seen more of him probably from a hurling perspective now than football, but he's a prospect, and he's quite a physical specimen as well for the age of him as well. So you know, the more the merrier of these lads coming through.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talent coming through in Kildare when you look at it, hurling and football.
It is, and you'd be hoping, I suppose, for a Clane victory on Saturday, Richard.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well,
as Jared says, don't know a lot about the opposition, but you know, we do know a lot about that Clane team, and I would hope that they'll get through that one.
And the best of luck to them, as we say, and the best of luck to Naas on Saturday at 1:30. Clane versus Clonard. That's in Mangard Park at 1:30, and then on the Sunday it's St. Martin's of Wexford versus Naas in Chadwick. It's Wexford Park, also at 1:30. Clubber on Saturday, or TG Cahir on Sunday. Just before we go, and I'm just going to throw this out, lads. Maybe it's my eyesight, but I think the lights in fantastic stadium that is Cedar St. Conleth's Park. but I have difficulty with the lights. Anybody else have a word with that?
I wasn't there on Saturday. I was watching on a phone in the back of a pub over in Cheltenham, so I didn't get the best of views. But that view I saw expressed on a number of occasions through social media, both from people who are in the ground and I'm watching on television as well. So it's certainly something that's been mentioned before as well. It's not just a one-off thing. So maybe it is something that can be improved on, and it needs to be improved on, I suppose, really. Again, I suppose we don't know the ins and outs maybe of what arrangements there are with the Residents Association around St. Connor's Park, and if there is any kind of any limit in terms of the brightness of the bulbs there. But yeah, it's something that probably needs to be looked at and improved upon if possible.
Yeah, certainly over the far side, the terrace side, it's difficulty to pick out players on that particular side of the field. And even around the goalmouths, I heard one or two people in the media box, the national media, saying that they had difficulty. One guy beside me was taking out his binoculars all the time, so that shows you the difficulty they had.
I think he brings them all the time, if it's who I'm thinking of.
Maybe he does, but he certainly used them a lot on Saturday evening. But maybe it's just something that might be looked at. And I say it's not a criticism; it's just a comment. It could be very well in my eyes. Maybe I should be going to that place that they all talk about. We'll have to wait and see. So that's it. County Convention update, Chair. After the County Board meeting on Tuesday last, there were some changes to the nominations. And I don't know whether have you got them there in front of you? If you haven't, I have.
I think just the headline one, I suppose, I think is the current PRO doesn't appear to be running anymore for PRO, Lorraine Wolf. So it looks like she's
right. Yeah,
throwing all her eggs into the basket of running for the position of secretary there. And we spoke about that last week. And she's been the 4 years thing as PRO or communications officer as it is now. And there was a thought that maybe Lorraine would have, I suppose, something in reserve that if she didn't get the role of secretary, that perhaps she would then run. She'd still have a year left of her term as communications officer. But the update looks that Lorraine will be just one of 3 people now going for that secretary role, and then the communications officer, as it is these days, is between a straight shootout between Rory McGrath, Kildangan, and Sarah Holden of Sarsfields.
Yeah, we'll just give you a quick rundown. The convention is on Monday, the 8th of November. Chairperson nomination is Mick Mullen, outgoing from Selbridge, and he's the only nomination there, as is Larry Curtin for Vice Chairperson from Rathangan, outgoing. Secretary position is now Lorraine Wolf of Naas, Noel McKenna of Ballyteague, and Elaine Conley of St. Lawrence's. Treasurer Alan Dunny of Cara. He's the only nomination. He's the outgoing treasurer. Communication officer, as you say, Ger, just the 2 nominees now. That's Rory McGrath of Kildangan and Sarah Holden of Sarsfields. Coaching officer, outgoing, and they're from Kilcock, Eamon Costello. Irish officer, outgoing, Paul Delahunty. Leinster Council delegates, 2 of them there, Ger Donnelly of Castlemitchell, outgoing, and Dave Cahill of Clane, outgoing. Central Council delegate, Colin Farrell of Johnstown Bridge, outgoing. Leinster Convention, Noel McKenna of Ballyteague and Ger Donnelly of Castlemitchell, and Congress, Noel McKenna, Ballyteague, Ger Donnelly of Castlemitchell, and Dave Cahill of Clane. So a number of times there, Noel McKenna has shown up. So he'll be busy canvassing over the next few weeks. And let's say, I suppose, pay tribute to Lorraine Wolf. We've known her for the last 4 years. All of us involved in the media. She's kept us occupied and involved and I suppose informed as best she could under difficult circumstances. As soon as her fixtures came out, then there were changes and she seems to do everything with a smile, and she has certainly changed, I suppose, the face of communications in the county. It started off with Christine Murray, who'd done a fantastic job, and the baton was picked up then by Lorraine Wolf, and she's some great help. She set up a communications committee, and 2 of them are now going forward for the communications officer. So I think Lorraine deserves credit for her role as communications officer or PRO, whichever one we want to call it. I think you would agree with that, Ger.
Yeah, and the big thing Lorraine did there, just you mentioned there, was set up that team behind her, because the role as PRO or communications officer is a huge one, and particularly now with social media, and particularly during the club championship, it's a huge task to try and get updates from the vast majority of the games, as Lorraine and her team did there across the summer. So that's a huge undertaking, and to say is the fact that 2 of the people that would have cut their teeth under Lorraine, I suppose, if you want to put it that way, Zara and Rory, the fact that they are now coming forward to hopefully take over that role from Lorraine shows what they've got. They've got good learning and been a good team there, and hopefully they can take it on now again if whoever takes that role on.
And Richard, one of the most recent initiatives from Lorraine is a call for pictures for the walls in Mangard Park, in the gym there, and also in Seadrill St. Conleth's Park. Great way of, I suppose, creating history, not creating history, but remembering history, I suppose. And let's hope that lots of people, including yourself, can send some photographs in when you were a boy supporting Kildare.
Oh, black and white.
Did you even have a camera then?
It's a great idea, and it's funny, like, because I've, I suppose, developed a bit of a reputation for my interest in the historical side of it, and the all the old players and that. It's every now and again you get someone coming out of the ether with like a photograph or some information about an old player, and I always find that fascinating. And I think this is a great initiative, and I think they'll get a lot of good material for that. I'd say I'm not really great myself for keeping photos as such. I'm probably more into the words than the pictures, but I'm sure they'll get some fantastic input to that.
You paint a picture with words. And what was it called? Our friend, was he from Cara, who used to do those pencil drawings? They were fantastic. And
Niall Swords.
Niall, and
Ballyteague, isn't it?
Ballyteague, was it? Yeah, Ballyteague maybe it was, yeah. I thought there was some relation.
Father was anyway.
Cara, but they were fantastic pencil drawings.
I have one on my wall here.
Yeah, some of those. The one he gave me, I sent out to my son in Sydney, and he was delighted with that. But maybe some of those drawings on the walls around the, particularly the gym or the dressing room, the area there, might spur on some future Kildare players. We'll have to wait and see. What are we going to next? Schools update, Jerry. You're keeping me busy, I suppose, with schools, as indeed the summer are over the last few days. It's coming on to crunch time, and big match 2 on Thursday. It's in the Group 1, Arts Scoil Tronóda facing Moat Community School not in Geraldine Park, but on the pitch beside it. St. Pat's Navan are the top team there. They're with 4 points and plus 38 score difference. Moat are next on 2 points with a +1 score difference, and Arts Scoil Tronóda are on -10 but on 2 points. So a win for Arts Scoil Tronóda, absolutely vital tomorrow, because it's bye-bye if they don't win, and they got to a Leinster final last year and probably should have won, Jar.
Yeah, you'd expect Pats to play St. Vincent's there as well in that group still, as I say. You'd expect them to win that one quite comfortably if they haven't already. So it is really a straight knockout tie for that second spot now between Atara and Moat tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, that should be a right old game. We've spoke about Ronan Kelly, what an outstanding footballer he is, and they saw him the last day up in Dublin against St. Benilde's, only 2 days after the county final, and even in a game that Arts Scoil Tronóda were absolutely dominant for the full duration of it, he still stayed on for, I think, right up to the very final whistle, and had a real starring role there. And Callum Keaveney, I'm trying to think my Keaveney's here. Callum Keaveney as well is a really talented footballer as well, and somebody as well of the Athy club. So he's another key player. And then from across the border, Robbie Murphy as well as Alicia Minor as well, in the centre midfield. So yeah, they're a really strong team, and they're a side who, if they can get out of the group, they had obviously had that sticky game against Pats in the opening round. Ronan Kelly didn't play that day, and I suppose all the focus around the Sky was probably on the county final. That was on the Friday. That match was with the county final on the Sunday. So perhaps some of the focus just was slightly taken off the school team. So I think if they can get out of the group, their side who could potentially still go on and do big things in this competition. But yeah, it's a big game against Moat, who will be there themselves. But home advantage, I think, is a big thing as well in this competition. And yeah, that pitch as well in Geraldine Park, the second pitch is there. Hopefully Ty can get the job done there and progress to the knockout stages.
Yeah, well, if Arts Scoil Tronóda win that particular one, they will play RD. And I watched RD against Scoil of Clane on Monday. Very formidable side, although I have to say Scoil were absolutely very disappointing on the day, but RD looks strong. But when Scoil did attack them, then they found a number of gaps, but they couldn't take the score, so they are out of the competition. So if Arts Scoil Tronóda beat Moat tomorrow, they will play RD, who are tops in Group 2. In Group 3, St Mary's of Edenderry, they're gone. So a lot of Kildare players have played for Edenderry in the past. In Group 4, Patricians Secondary School of Newbridge, they're gone as well. In Group 5 then, Ger, Knockbeg College are in pole position there. They have already qualified. It's just a matter of whether they're playing as a top team or in second place. And they play Kildare Cullen on Friday at 11:30 in Great Cullen. That should be an interesting one as well.
Yeah, definitely. Knockbeg looked very impressive in their first round game against St. Fintan's, but it was St. Fintan's side who looked a little bit weak, to be honest. So we get a much better idea of Knockbeg and how they might do in this game against Tullamore, because I know Tullamore had people up there watching that game against St. Fintan's. What they would have learned out of that, I'm not too sure. But Knockbeg has some really talented players and a good smattering of Kildare players. There's I think 4 St. Lawrence lads, including one of Richard's favourites there, Rory Lawler and his brother as well. They're both involved in the forward line, so they are 2 excellent players. Stan Gallagher as well, who I think was in Kilcullen School last year, but he's in Knockbeg now as well. He's in their county minor, who's in the full back line there for Knockbeg. So yeah, they have some real talent, and excuse me, I can't think of his first name, O'Gorman from Castledermot as well, as a wing forward as well, as a big strong man as well. Dylan O'Dwyer come off the bench as well during that game against St. Fintan. So Conor Ronan is the man over them as well. So there's a real strong kind of Kildare contingent on that Knockbeg side. So again, we'll be keeping a close eye on that one.
Yes, indeed. And if Knockbeg win that one against Kildare Cullen, then they will top the group, and they will play the runners-up in Group 6. That's in the ACBS group, St. Joseph's of Rochford Bridge. I saw that game between ACBS and Joseph's, yes, indeed, yeah. It took Naas a while to get into their stride on that particular one, but they won it. So if Knockbeg win that Group 5, then they will play St. Joseph's of Rochford Bridge. If they were to lose, they will play the Maris College of Athlone. So that would be a tough one. There are tops in Group 7. Mells of Longford are the second place team there, and they will face Naas CBS in the first of the preliminary knockouts. So interesting stuff to come ahead for all the Kildare teams, Richard. Unfortunately, Skulwira of Clane and I suppose Patrician Secondary School, they're gone, but there's still an opportunity that's still there for our Skulna Tanoda, for Naas CBS, and I suppose Knockbeg College, who have Naas continued as well. So we're looking forward to a bit more colleges football, or schools football as they call it, in the next few weeks, Richard.
Yeah, it's a great competition, isn't it? Like, when you look through all those schools, so many of them have had, you talk about St. Mel's and, obviously Naas now as well. They've got a great tradition in the competition, and, it's very hard to pick a winner out of it every year. You've got new crops of young lads coming through. So great competition, and, we'll definitely have to claim Knockbeg, I think, because, we've lost a few Kildare teams there, but, best of luck to Naas and Athai and Knockbeg in their games coming up.
Yeah, and well done to Naas CBS on Monday, Ger. They beat Boris of College of Carlow. That was an interesting hurling game, and I have to say that some very good performers on that Naas team.
Yeah, and that would have been a good win, because Boris pulling players probably from Mount Leinster Rangers and St. Mullins, who were also the 2 dominant hurling clubs down in Carlow. So that would have been a fine win for Naas. And again, looked at the hurling in Naas CBS, although they're Senior B compared to Senior A, obviously for the footballers, it's still a hugely, take it very, very seriously in the school. So yeah, they'll be hoping to push on now again, and take the best of it again. And I suppose very similar to the footballers that they pull in from a few different clubs, although I suppose the Naas club probably provide more for the hurling side of things. So yeah, look, they're a strong side as well, and looking forward to watching how they progress through the championship too.
And we won't forget the Rectangle School in Avon as well. They're still involved, and they'll be coming up in the next few weeks as well. So lots of schools action in hurling and football, and of course the Maynooth campus, they're still going strong as well. Richard, what do you know about horse racing? Because you can.
I think we spoke about this before.
You can pop along to Brady's Cockhouse on Saturday night for a fantastic fundraiser for the Kildare hurlers for their season of 2026 and all the great games that are coming up, and we're looking forward to that. So that's it. As I said, it's a hurlers fundraiser race night. Richard, a race night. You can go along. You might. We'll record the podcast from there for next week.
Outside broadcast. You're good at that.
We'd have plenty of guests there. But anyway, that's this Saturday night in Brady's Clockhouse. It's a fundraiser race night for the Kildare hurlers, and it's unfortunate that they have to go out and do it. But the hurlers or the footballers are doing something similar as well, because they're playing Kerry on the 20th of December in Cedars and Conless Park. That's a fundraiser for the footballers. So unfortunately, no matter how much money comes forward or how much money comes in the gate, there's still more money to be raised, and let's wish the hurlers the very best of luck with their fundraising night. I think I'm doing MC at that, so I'm looking forward to it, and the very best of luck to them. Awards night, yeah, we're back again. That's on the 29th of November. That'll be a busy weekend for all of us. It's in the Cadine Hotel. The Taunton Cup winners, the McDonagh Cup winners, and the McGurk Cup winners will all be presented on the night, as well as the individual awards. This year it's in the Cadine Hotel because of the number of teams involved. You're looking forward to that one, and it should be a good night, Ger.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm deck to your ant or if I'm ant to your deck, but yeah, we'll be back there. Twin Troubles hosting that, but yeah, I suppose it's the sod's law, isn't it? Because last year I think wasn't it was moved away from this kind of date around the middle or towards the end of November to early January because of the success of teams in Leinster, and unfortunately it looks like some of the people who will be involved on the night and hopefully receiving some of the awards will have good excuses essentially to be there, but maybe they won't get the full enjoyment out of it because hopefully Salons will be playing on the Sunday, aren't they, the day after it, and Athy and Grange Novan will be playing on the afternoon of it. So yeah, so hopefully the Athy and Grange Novan lads in particular will be in good form coming in on the back of a big win. I'm looking forward to Leinster finals there. But yeah, but it just shows again what a fantastic year it's been for Kildare GAA. You kind of at this time of the year you kind of step back and try and take it all in, and especially when you're in the job that we're in, it just seems to kind of trundle on from week to week, and there's always something on. But when you get an opportunity this time of the year to stand back and see what's been achieved this year, it's phenomenal, really. Outsiders might say it's only a tier 2 double, or even a tier 3, a tier 2 treble, I should say, with the McGurk Cup as well for the minors. But one of those teams had to battle hard to win those championships, and it's great to see, and great to be able to at this time of the year have a trophy to put on the sideboard there, and to get the finals and everything else. So, yeah, it should be a great night.
And Richard,
sorry, Pat. Something that just struck me about your interview with Mick O'Grady in the paper this week, where he said that this year was the first year that they actually finished their campaign, their year. They finished their year on a high with a win.
Yeah,
and I think that's not something I thought about, but I think that must be phenomenal for the group, to finish the year like that and have that carry them through the winter into the next year. I know it's tier 2, and I know the players have been quite realistic about what that means and whether they wanted to be in tier 2 in the first place. But I still think, that struck me from that interview that must be a great way to go into the winter for the panel.
Yeah, well, it was great to interview Mick, and just like Dan a few weeks ago, they're so cooperative. And very shortly, Ger, we'll have the interview with Ellen Dowling and Claire Sullivan as well. That will be coming up very soon. 2 more players who have retired, and I seem to be getting these interviews all the time, and too many of them are retiring. They still all have got a lot to give, but they'll give it to their clubs. And I have to thank, as I said, Mick for being so cooperative and understanding, and really open as how we felt about the last 10 years. And it was interesting to hear all these insights. So well done to Mick, and wish him a happy inter-county retirement. We look forward to seeing them playing for Selbridge in the years to come. Moving on now, Ger, to the LGFA. The league fixtures are out. We'll give you those in a moment, but the new county executive was formed at the AGM in Cedars and Conless Park on Sunday last.
Yeah, you might have the details in front of you there, Pat. But yeah, a change, I suppose, at the top table as well. So, such a key time for ladies football in the county. They feels, excuse me, now I'm going to say they're on the cusp of something special. What they've done already is absolutely fantastic to progress and be able to be competing in the All Ireland Series, the All Ireland Senior Championship, and competing at the in Division 1. It's absolutely wonderful to come from where Kildare ladies football was on 2 or 3 years ago. So it's phenomenal what they've done, but it just feels that they're even on the cusp of doing something even greater. I think that they are capable of claiming silverware at that top level, whether it be at Leinster or in the league or even the All Ireland. Like they have the talents, they have the age profile. Yeah, so they just need the leadership, I suppose, from the top table to try and direct everything along. Pat Sullivan, obviously the manager of the senior team, he needs every bit of help that he can get, and that all comes from, I suppose, the boardroom. People will always see what's on the pitch and judge everything on the goings on the pitch, but an awful lot of what happens on the pitch is a result of what happens behind the scenes. So, yeah, a new kind of committee in there now at the moment, and hopefully they can take things forward.
Yeah, and Pat Travers didn't go forward as chairman. So let's say a big thank you to Pat Travers, who stepped in at a difficult time when certainly there was a lot of turmoil off the pitch while things were going well. On the pitch, they were winning the intermediate All-Ireland, they were winning the Leinster All-Ireland, the intermediate level, and they were winning the Division 2 and then, Division 3 and then Division 2. But things weren't going well off the pitch, and Pat Travers stepped in and steadied the ship and decided to step down this year. So the new executive for Kildare LGFA is James Fagan of Kappa, is the chairman. The secretary is Sinead MacDonald. Assistant secretary is Claire Farley. Treasurer Jim Rattigan, Assistant Treasurer is Anthony Conway. Unfortunately, no PRO elected or no registrar. So two big positions there, you might say, particularly the PRO, and Irish officer Rachel Toohey. So that's the new Kildare LGVA executive, and we wish them the very best of luck and look forward to working with them over the next number of years. As regards the league fixtures, the little league fixtures, it is on Sunday the 21st of January away to Cork. Sunday the 1st of February, home to Armagh. Sunday the 8th of February, away to Galway. Sunday the 22nd of February, away to Dublin. Saturday the 28th of February, home to Meath. That one is at 7:35, so we're presuming that that's going to be on TG Cahir. And Kildare footballers play Meath the next day, so it's a pity that couldn't be a double header, but it would appear that has been selected as a TV game. Saturday the 21st of March, away to Waterford, and then Saturday the 29th of March, home to Kerry. So interesting times and a big challenge once again for Pat Sullivan and his team. So that's the LGFA dealt with now. We haven't heard anything from Camogie, whether they have had their AGM or annual convention or whatever they call it. Soccer, Ger, have we all come down from a high? We're no longer sick as a parrot and all like that. Well, we got a bit of awakening, a rude awakening yesterday with the under-17s bowing out, the under-19s, I think, lost as well, and then a big loss for the under-21s, Jim Crawford's under-21s. But what a weekend it was. Thursday night beating Portugal 2-0, 2 goals from Troy Parrott, and then Hungary beaten at the death, you might say, on Sunday, and 3 goals from Troy Parrott, all captained by Nathan Collins from Leaksip, and Mark Travers was there as well as a substitute goalkeeper.
Yeah, I saw a lovely piece on RTA actually with Nathan Collins' younger brother in a school there. I think it's Comfy College right there, and they're obviously very proud. They had jerseys from Nathan adorning the wall there, and obviously his brother immensely proud of everything that's been achieved by Nathan. So yeah, incredible week. We kind of spoke about it last week, and it didn't really even cross my mind that Ireland could actually go in both games. It was, such a remote possibility. But yeah, fantastic. 2 wins back to backs like that, and for the one player to score 5 goals, including a last minute goal, it's just incredible, and something that Troy Parrott will be remembered for a long time to come. But there is just a nagging thing at the back of my mind as well, that as fantastic as it is, this qualification is not assured by any long shot, and indeed it's probably still a very long shot for us. Now we have unfortunately things didn't work out last night in the other game, so we drop into that pot 3. So whatever comes on Thursday morning will be an away tie, and then even if we can get through that, obviously a very tough final then to come. So I didn't actually realise the full kind of layout of the playoffs going into Sunday. I hadn't even checked up, to be honest. I still assumed that it was still going to be some sort of a 2-legged affair, and that we get at least one game back in the Aviva Stadium, but that's not the way that it is, of course, now, and it is going to be just that one in the semi-final against is it Czechia, Slovakia, Wales, or Poland. So yeah, we'll see what Thursday morning brings. But Yeah, for Troy Parrott in particular, what a fantastic couple of games, and it's just a short space of time, and to see Nathan Collins leading them there as well, we're brilliant to see, and I'm sure everyone in that comfy college school and particularly around that area and right around the country absolutely loved every second of it.
And a good performance. I don't know whether you saw it or not, Richard, for the under-21s was it on Friday night? And okay, they lost 2-0 to England, but they put on a fantastic performance, and it's unfortunate that they were beaten so heavily last night. I don't know, did you get a chance to look at it last night?
No, I didn't see either, but so disappointing to turn around and suffer that particular defeat. But it is so hard, I suppose, putting two back-to-back performances together, and they would have been obviously preparing a lot for that England game and put a lot into it. But yeah, very disappointing. Your bubble was burst pretty quickly when we were on a high. But I think just back to the senior side, I mean, the whole Troy Parrott story I think is fascinating, and just shows that careers aren't kind of linear. There's always he obviously got chipped out of Spurs, I suppose, didn't quite make it there. Was brave enough to go abroad and started scoring goals there, and now look at him. So I think that's in any sport. I think that's a great example for any young person who does hit a brick wall in one particular area, that there's always a chance to bounce back, whatever the sport is or whatever the career is.
Yeah, and I have to say that third goal was a great commentary by Darren Maloney and Ray Houghton. I thought they were going to come through me television. They went so wild, and I think Darren almost lost the voice. I know what it's like. Indeed. I don't think there was any local soccer this weekend, Ger, or last weekend.
No, not up top, man. But before we leave the international team, just to give those under 17s a good mention as well, because
that's right.
Although they bowed out against a good Switzerland side, they had quite the journey there. Particularly the two Kildare lads, the two Noonans, they have had a really fantastic tournament. Michael up front scoring 3 goals and hitting the crossbar at least once as well. He really has kind of brought on what was already a really kind of encouraging profile as a player, and he will undoubtedly have caught the eyes of scouts from around the world. And as Richard mentioned there with Troy Parrott, he potentially even beyond the Premier League, although even some of the big Premier League big guns and even Everton have been linked to him as well. So he has a big future ahead of him, absolutely. But we knew that before that World Cup. He's a fantastic young talent. But Alex as well in goal, what a great tournament he had, and particularly the heroics he pulled off against Canada. The shootout, that was absolutely stupendous as well. So he's he's a big man for his age as well. So it's always difficult, I think, for a goalkeeper, maybe more difficult to break into a senior team. It takes a lot of trust for a manager to place their faith in a young goalkeeper, and plus you can't get a 10 or 15 minute run out here or there to bring you an easy into the team. So he'll find it difficult, I think, in the next couple of years to kind of find a senior team. But yeah, he's a hugely talented goalkeeper as well, and hopefully we'll hear plenty more about both of those Noonans in the years to come.
Yeah, and that Canadian goalkeeper was a lovely fella, wasn't he, Richard?
He was confident in himself. Let's say that.
Yeah, true. They'd say in where I come from, a bit of a mouth. Anyway, we'll move on to rugby.
Sorry, just when you mentioned just 2 things quickly, just KDFL related. One is there's a couple of big games at the weekend in terms of the LFA. Clonmullion and Rotangan are both in action.
Okay.
Clonmullion are playing Evergreen from Kilkenny. That in particular should be a great game on Sunday. And just on a sad note as well, there was a real sad passing of a young man. God, he's only, I think, mid-40s, who would have been very well known in the KDFL. Played for the likes of Clonmullion, Suncroft, and a few other teams. Martin Brennan would have been very, very well known as one of the best midfielders in the KDFL over the last 20 years or so. And yeah, very sad news that he passed away there over the last week or so. And there's been a real outpouring of grief throughout KDFL clubs across social media and from the KDFL themselves as well. So whether they played with or against him, or as I did, refereed him, everybody would have known Martin Brennan over the last while in the KDFL. So very, very, very sad news indeed, and condolences to his family and his wider amount of friends.
Yeah, Jay got over Annam. Will Jimmy Doyle be playing for Clonmullion, do you think?
He is the manager, as far as I know.
Oh, is he manager? Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Oh, yeah, he's a busy one at the moment, Timmy. Yeah, and thinking.
And what about Lee? Does Lee play for them still?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
So be interesting because that could be two big games for them. One for this weekend and for Clonmullion, and then the following weekend playing for Gracenovan. Now can we move on to rugby, Jar? Now can we move on to rugby, Jar? And a good display by Sam Prendergast, the Kildare man, for against the Australians on Saturday evening last. Seems so long ago now at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have a resident. We do have. Sorry, excuse me. We do have one of our Suncroft residents here. So yeah, maybe Richard can speak up for Sam as Seamus has so elegantly done so in the last couple of weeks. But in fairness, Sam did a talking on the pitch there last Saturday evening. Yeah, probably his best game. I would think that from people who would know far more about rugby than me, they were of that opinion anyway. And yeah, he played a big part in what was a very comfortable win in the end over Australia. So yeah, that rumble or that kind of who's going to take over that number 10 jersey, that argument will rumble on for a while to come yet before the Six Nations rolls around, and maybe it'll be Jack Crowley back in it again on Saturday. But yes, Sam Prendergast did himself no harm at all with that performance on Saturday.
And a big performance again for Tadhg. I don't know how he keeps going.
Yeah. Look, he's monumental in there. He's absolutely brilliant. But we mentioned his Sam an awful lot as well. But his brother Keane is
that's right.
really
he came on. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's certainly cementing his place in that matchday squad and really pushing now for a starting 15 place. So yeah, maybe Sam gets more of the headlines in that kind of glamour position of the out half. But Keane is progressing very nicely there now as well.
Yeah, and he's captain of Connacht. Well, he was last year. I haven't seen this year, but he was captain of Connacht last year, and quite a good captain as well. So very articulate, and well done to them. And the best of luck to any and all of the Kildare contingent playing for Ireland against the world champions South Africa on Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon. I think, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, half 5. I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Kick-off time. And locally, Ger Naas, a big win for them, and then of course them Athy into an All-Ireland a semi-final.
Yeah. So Naas are really kind of turning things around. I suppose they had a bit of a slow start. We did mention, I think, on a few occasions that there was a lot of turnover in players, so maybe that has just taken them the first few games to just kind of find their feet. But now, yeah, nice win there at the weekend over Blackrock College. That's 2 wins out of the last 3 games. So they are moving well and heading towards mid-table in that AIL. So yeah, absolutely, they're doing fantastic. But yeah, great win for Athy. Yeah, as you said, into that AIL Junior Cup semi-final. Suttonians were the visitors last weekend, and they were absolutely roundly defeated there. Athy 41 points to 10. Craig Miller was involved there. He had a fantastic game. So yeah, 5 tries scored by Athy, and they are really enjoying themselves, certainly in the cups anyways. It's a bit of a struggle in the Leinster League to maintain their place in that top division, but on the back of last year's Towns Cup win, they are they're really enjoying themselves. They were away last time out against Tuam in that in the quarterfinal. Sorry, their last 16, and now in the quarterfinal they beat Suttonians at home, and they're awaiting the semi-final draw, I think, last I heard. So yeah, should be they're doing very well at the moment, and everybody down the tie, whether it's rugby or GAA or on the soccer field, they're certainly an excellent sporting town and a lot to be enjoyed at the moment.
Certainly, they all is red at the moment, although the rugby team don't wear red as far as I can remember. They're blue and white, blue and white indeed, yeah.
Nice colours, I think, yeah.
We won't say that. Basketball, Clare Melia back in the Irish action. Okay, didn't win against Luxembourg, but was it Luxembourg they were beaten by?
Yeah, Luxembourg they beat, wasn't it? Yeah, they lost to Bosnia, and
that's right. Yeah.
Then defeated Luxembourg.
No, the other way around. Was it not the other way around? They beat Bosnia and lost to Luxembourg.
Yeah, beat Bosnia. Sorry, beat Bosnia at the weekend.
Clare Melia was outstanding, and unfortunately they just couldn't keep it going. They were beaten on Tuesday night over in Riga by Israel. Match played in Riga. Yeah. So I don't know where that leaves them in the qualifications process, but I think there's a few more matches to come. Best of luck to the Irish basketball team. I think there was a win for the one of the teams that I don't really recognise or haven't been covering in basketball. Was there, Gerard?
We had Kildare Gliders there. We had a feature.
Gliders, yes. I haven't come across them before.
Yeah, based in Newbridge. So yeah, Stephen Leonard did a nice feature piece
Right.
with us. It was on the website, Jeff, but certainly in the paper. And yeah, so they're a club going from strength to strength and growing in numbers. And Thai Archers are another club around that level as well that we hope to feature in the next couple of weeks as well. So there are, basketball is strong in Kildare in different pockets. Obviously, up around Leixlip, which the Liffey Celtics is probably at its strongest there, but there are other clubs and certainly avenues for young players if that's what they want to take up. And basketball is a great sport to play. I played a little bit when I was younger before I was too clumsy and awkward to play in it, but it's definitely a great sport for young people, and there's plenty of avenues and plenty of clubs around for people to take that opportunity.
And like Richard, with the fantastic writing and painting a picture, you can't but hold out a great tribute to Perry Williams for the coverage of athletics each week, Ger. And this week she's covering the Leinster Marathon and the medals for Kildare's Shanley, O'Reilly and McLaughlin.
Yeah, Terry Shanley, actually, he was on the back of having a fantastic run in the Dublin Marathon last month. And to do kind of two marathons in that space of time is fantastic. But yeah, Perry, as we've mentioned a few times in the podcast, is absolutely has her finger on the pulse of every tiny little corner or avenue of Kildare athletics. So yeah, great read for anybody interested in athletics, and plenty of young players talented athletes coming through there.
Yeah, and I know you were in Cheltenham over the last number of days, but here at home, Marine National, we didn't get a chance to have a look at him for the new season. The Barry Connelly's trainer decided not to risk him, I suppose, for the want of a better word. And Marine National later in the season, I expect.
Yeah, I think the grounds, the way it was put, I think Barry Connolly had intended running him on Saturday. Obviously, the heavy rain that fell meant that racing at Navan was called off or postponed for 48 hours until Monday, and the more rain that fell, the didn't suit Marine National. So in the end, they kind of decided to put him away and keep him back there till Christmas. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see Marine National pushing on again. Barry Connell is always very confident when he speaks about that horse, and why wouldn't he be? He's so proud of him. A horse that he bred himself, owns himself, and already won twice at the Cheltenham Festival, and we'll be looking for more to come. But yeah, there'll be some top action as well. I'm the horse racing expert now, of course, after my one with Cheltenham last week. But yeah, Punchestown Racecourse is the place to be this weekend for anybody with an interest in horse racing. Some grade one action there on Sunday in the John Dorkin Chase, and that's always a very informative race for what might happen later in the season. The Morgiana Hurdle as well as another one on Saturday as well. That's a feature race on Saturday. So yeah, I'm sure that'll get a good crowd at Punchestown. It's always probably the big, and certainly in the local area, it's the big kind of first big jumps meeting of the year. And there'll be some top class Cheltenham Festival winners and prospective Cheltenham Festival winners on display over the weekend here in Punchestown.
Yeah, Richard, while you weren't here last week, we were decrying the fact that there wasn't a suitable venue for the likes of Kelsey Leonard, the boxer, and she's back out on the 13th of December, so that's over in Coventry, I think it is, or is it Sheffield. But we were decrying the fact that there was no venue suitable to host a boxing competition or a boxing night. But you have to say, fair play, Naas Racecourse, Punchestown Racecourse, the Curragh, three great race courses, probably the best race courses in not only in the county but in the country.
Very much so, yeah. Very much so.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, the short and sweet was his answer on that particular occasion. I was expecting more from him. Anyway, I think that's it, lads. I think we've covered everything, every blade of grass. Unless you have something, Richard, that might send us off with a happiness for this week's episode 15.
No, I just think like GAA, getting back to GAA is just so buoyant at the moment. I mean, we're in heady times really with the county teams, and like 5 clubs out of 5 still in the hurling and football. Just excellent. Long may it continue. And I know, like, coming out of Meath on Saturday, and that was even before Summerhill had lost in the evening. Like, I mean, the comparison is quite stark, in terms of our club performances to say Meath, and long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely, and best of luck to them. And of course, Ger, we're hearing loads of changes at managerial level. We said we'd mention it to unofficial Tommy when he comes back, that he might put a little bit of a graphic together for us. But there's loads of rumours of managers leaving, managers joining new clubs and that. So we won't speculate around like that. We'll wait to hear the full facts, and unofficial Tommy will put all that together for us in the coming weeks. And certainly before Christmas, we should know the setup or the layout for the club managers and coaches and whatever else they might need for 2026. Imagine we're talking about 2026 already.
Yeah, absolutely. I was flying around now. But yes, well, one that definitely was confirmed during the week, I suppose, was the appointment of Anthony Rainbow with Raheens. Obviously, Anthony's CV goes before him, what an outstanding legend he is. We will be very interested to see how he can get on with Raheens, because they're a side who have a lot of young talent coming through. And they, obviously won a minor title as 3 or 4 years ago now. So that's kind of maybe those players are starting to come forward. They were probably a little bit disappointed this year in the championship, albeit we spoke about how they did very well against Cara to win that derby, and then we're placed in a very tough group. Would they have benefited maybe from losing that game and go into a slightly easier group? That's always, something for discussion. But yeah, the Raheens have a lot of talent there to work with, and it'll be interesting to see how Anthony goes. And a couple of other appointments I think that were confirmed. Niall Carew with Elliston, I think that was confirmed, or is that still in the rumour mill, or is it? But yeah, I think that was mentioned.
Confirmed with
Maynooth. Yeah, we spoke with that one last week. Niall Timmins as well, with Kilcullen and Shane McCormick going in as a coach there, with Niall and Kilcullen as well as another one that was confirmed. So yeah, lots happening, and yeah, some other rumoured departures as well, and some very high profile club jobs still available within the county. So yeah, that'll be a very interesting scene to watch over the coming weeks leading into the end of the year.
That's it. Episode 15 is now in the can. It'll be on your shelves very, very, very shortly now. We enjoyed putting that together. We hope you enjoyed as well. Best of luck to all Kildare teams participating this weekend, all Kildare athletes, all Kildare players. We hope they have a great weekend. We hope they have a successful weekend. Thanks to Ger. Thanks to Richard. I'm Pat Costello. We'll talk to you again next week.